Yo, what's going, guys? Trey back again here bringing another video. This one's going to be talking about the eventual matchup probably be coming up this fall between George St-Pierre and Carlos Condit. So it looks like pretty much as it's going down, we're probably not going to see a rematch between Nick Diaz and Carlos Condit. At least so far it looks like that. I mean, Lorenzo Fertita has said that, Nick will be fighting again. He's not going to retire. So, as I predicted, I thought that he was just discouraged. It's normal. It happens to guys, but I definitely don't think Nick Diaz should be retiring at this point. I mean, there's still a lot left out there for him, and I don't think that his quote-unquote loss to Carlos Condit is going to hurt his resume or his standing in any way. I really don't feel like it hurts Diaz. You know what I mean? That being said, Cesar Gracie has said there will not be a rematch. So Diaz will not fight Carlos again, at least not anytime soon. Now, that could change, and we could see the fight go down, and who knows if this fight will even happen first. But, because a lot of things can happen. But, one way or another, this fight sooner or later is probably going to happen no matter what. So this prediction will apply to when it does happen. Now, here's the thing, okay? Right out of the gate, let's get this out there. GSP tore his ACL pretty bad. He's going to be off for a long time. Let's see how long he's been out of action for. His last fight was against Jake Shields, and that was April 30th, 2011. So by the time he comes back, he will have been out of commission for a year and a half, at least. Torn the ACL, out of action, rehab, surgery, getting back in shape and then coming back and fighting again. So the question is this the beginning of the end for George St-Pierre in his career? Is this the beginning of the end? It's really going to be tough to say because we don't know how the ACL tear is going to affect his mobility, his speed, his takedowns, his footwork. These are all question marks at this point. We haven't seen him fight yet since he's had the surgery done. And, once he gets done his rehab, will it be 100% again? It's hard to say. I mean, sometimes, yeah, when it heals back up and the rehab goes well and you got, some of the best doctors in the world, telling you what to do and everything. At the Mayo Clinic, I believe he's gone to, at least most of the UFC guys do. He may be able to get back up to 100%, but that's definitely something that we should take into consideration when we're making a pick for this fight and thinking about this fight, is that he's coming off that injury in a big, long layoff when he wasn't training, he wasn't able to train, wasn't able to do anything, and whether or not he comes back 100% physically, he's lost all that time in training, and he's going to have to get everything back after he heals, ready for this fight again. It's going to be tough for him to get ready for Carlos because being out for that long, having that injury, coming back. And the thing with that is that Carlos is more mobile than most fighters. Most guys don't move around as much as Carlos moves around. Carlos calls it, he creates chaos in the cage. Chaos. That's what he says. He creates chaos. I certainly don't look at it as chaos when I watch him fight. I mean, he moves around a lot, and he comes in and he tries to use different angles, but he's not a brawler. When you use the word chaos, that sounds like a brawler that's going to come in and just like Wanderlei Silva. He creates chaos. Wanderlei Silva creates chaos because he comes in, axe murder, throwing, right hook, left hook, knees, boom, 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 knocking guys out left, right, and center, crazy stomps to the head, all this stuff. That's creating chaos. Shogun Rua creates chaos. What Carlos Condit does is very technical. It's not creating chaos, at least I don't look at it that way. Maybe he does, but I don't. He moves around a lot. He uses good footwork, not just like boxing footwork, but he uses just good movement overall in MMA footwork. He uses good footwork for his Muay Thai and his kicks and his unorthodox strikes that just like, spinning back fists and all kinds of weird things he does that, sometimes are effective if he lands them. Just surprising guys, the surprise. Now, here's the other thing too. So that's the first thing, is that the mobility, I think, is going to be a factor in this fight. The amount that Carlos moves around, it's not like GSP's fighting Nick Diaz or somebody who's mostly flat-footed. Carlos is all over the damn place. He's like Frankie Edgar at at welterweight. He just moves around all over the damn place. So it's going to be hard with that ACL tear and the rehab for George to keep up with him, first of all, because even normally George, I think, would have trouble keeping up with him. After an injury like that, it's going to be tough, man. It's really going to be tough because your ACL in your leg, like, that's going to be tough for him to do that. Secondly, another thing on top of that is Carlos is at Jackson's camp. He's been at Jackson's camp. George comes to Jackson's camp for some tutelage and you know, a little bit of training here and there, but a lot of his training is you know, in Montreal. So you know, Greg Jackson knows a lot about his style and this kind of stuff, and I'd be surprised to see if Greg Jackson remains impartial. You know what I'm saying? Like if he doesn't get involved and he doesn't help Carlos train, because all the guys at Jackson's camp have trained with GSP pretty much. You know, they all know his style. They know his ins and outs of his wrestling, you know, what Carlos should do. And if they're going to put together a game plan for Carlos against GSP, it's going to be the best game plan possible because they have all this inside info on GSP. Nobody has as much inside info on GSP as the Jackson camp or maybe like Faraz Zahari and those guys at, in Montreal. You know, Greg Jackson, if he's going to put together a game plan for Carlos, or he's going to tell him what to watch for and how to train for GSP, you know, that there's a second thing now that is in Carlos's favor. So it just looks like the stars are aligning when you look at these things. And, you know, Carlos Condit could very well beat GSP. Now, will he knock him out? I don't think he'll knock him out. It'll probably be a decision. It'll probably be boring, you know, just the same as before, most likely avoiding the takedowns and using all that stuff. The big thing is, though, is that using kicks against GSP, he can trap those, he can catch those and take you down. That's the thing, you know, Diaz is not a natural wrestler. His wrestling is his weakest suit. So, you know, it really depends, you know, on GSP and how he heals from this surgery to see if he's going to be able to take Carlos down and just, you know, win a decision by ground and pounding him every round and just holding him there. That very well could be the possibility. But I think this is the biggest test we've seen for George St-Pierre since Matt Hughes was in his prime, and you know, and they were competing. Maybe BJ Penn too, but you know, there just really hasn't been a test like this one. This is really going to be a tough fight for George because of those two main reasons: the styles with the surgery and Greg Jackson's camp. You know, there's a lot of things that are going to go on here. You know, will Greg Jackson stay impartial and say, you know, hey Carlos, I can't help you, and tell this guys, listen, we can't help him because, you know, like it's tough to say what's going to happen. You know, there's just so many unknowns, and they all seem to be in Carlos's favor in this fight. That's all there is to it. So I definitely want to see George win this fight. You know, I don't like Carlos. I don't like the way he fought against Diaz. And you know, I'm not a big fan of his fighting style in general. I don't, you know, dislike him, but his fighting style and stuff, you know, I would really like to see George win this fight. Do I think it's going to happen? I think this is a straight 50-50. I really do. I think the odds will be in GSP's favor, but because of those two things, I think this is a straight flip a coin, 50-50. You know, I don't think one guy really has advantage over the other because, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'd pick GSP. But those two reasons are why I can't, you know, pick GSP, is because he's had the injury. If he was healthy and the injury never happened, oh yeah, pick GSP all day. But that's going to be a big thing when his mobility's not there against Carlos, and that guy's so mobile. It's going to be tough for GSP, man. It really is. So it's a 50-50 split, you know, for what's going to happen. Either way, I think it's going to be a decision victory for somebody because, again, George could use his wrestling and use his boxing against, because I don't think Carlos's hands are that good. You know, his feet are good, and he's unorthodox, and his footwork is really good. But I didn't see too many hands against Diaz, and, you know, he does have a lot of knockouts and stuff, so I'm sure he's well-versed. But GSP's hands are really good. I mean, his boxing and his jabs against Koscheck were awesome, man. You know, like what he did to Koscheck's, he break his orbital bone? I think he did, yeah. I mean, that was, he couldn't even see, man, by the end of that fight. That was impressive. So who's going to win this one? Like I said, 50-50. I'm going to make a pick. I'm going to go out on a limb. I want GSP to win, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think probably Carlos is going to take this one. I really do. I just think that the odds are stacked against GSP, and he won't have enough time coming back from the surgery to really get his skills back up to snuff, to get his speed up to snuff, and I think we're probably going to see an upset here. I think we're probably going to see Carlos take this fight. Sucks, man. I hope I'm wrong, man. I really hope I'm wrong because I want GSP to win, but damn, man, the welterweight division sucks. Damn you, Carlos. Later, guys.